Hi everyone, Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com, and I'm going to show you another card from our Father's Day May card kit to go. Now this is the only card I've created that I don't actually have a sample to show you ahead of time. I have everything cut for all of your cards, and I'm going to make this card for the very first time as you're watching it. So it'll kind of be like if we were in a live Facebook group. So this is going to be the pieces that you need. Now, unfortunately for yours, I did die cut everything, but I'm not allowed to stamp it. It's against Stampin' Up's rules. So you will see all these pieces without the ink on them. So what you have to do is you'll just grab your, so for example, yours would look like this. So you're just going to grab your die, or your stamp, I should say, that coordinates with it, and you're going to stamp on top of it. Now, I know you're going to think that sounds really, really hard, but I will tell you, if you have a stamp positioning tool, it does make it a little bit easier. The other thing you could do is you could take a piece of double-sided tape. So you could take a little piece of purple tape, and you could put this down and pick this up. And then what you're going to do is you're going to ink up your stamp. Pick up your stamp, pick it up, ink it up, and then just do your best. If you really do your best to line the bird up and kind of look at it from the side, you should be able to ink it almost perfectly. It might be just a little bit overlapped. If this is too frustrating for you and you did purchase the dies, you could also go ahead and stamp your image and then die cut it out yourself. So that is one other reason why it's really sometimes really great to get the bundle that does go along with what I'm creating, only because it makes it easier for you to actually make the card as we go along with it, so it looks not identical but pretty close to identical when we create it. So these images I have are already stamped. So I have the boat, the dock, and the two oars. We're going to color these in. I stamped these with Memento ink. And then a lot of these other pieces are going to go for layering. So this one, and I gave myself the bum one because I scored it incorrectly. This one's going to go on the inside panel. And then you're going to have these two pieces that fold in. And then what you're going to do is we're going to have these pieces layering. And then they are going to layer right on top of here when we're finished. But what I thought would be fun, and hopefully you will think so too when we're finished, is instead of stamping these two pieces independently, what I want to do is I'm going to actually adhere them together and then stamp them as if they were one, so the picture will be very cohesive going across it. So I hope that does make sense. What I have is a piece of Post-it tape, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of set this on here. You could do this with a Post-it note if you have one. And we're just kind of putting these right next to each other to line this up. Okay, so if you have this card kit from home and you are going to decide to recreate this, the other thing you could do is you could measure out this piece as a whole and then cut it in half. Sometimes though, I will like doing it ahead of time like this because then you won't have to worry about trimming any pieces off and having any white edges. So one other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just put this down just very easily on the side here with a little piece of purple tape, basically just to hold it in place. So because my Post-it tape is very well used. So let me scoot this over just a smidge, as I don't want to cover up the edge. So to do this card, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be using a bunch of different Stampin' Blends, and I'm also going to use this image, and I'm going to stamp this in Mossy Meadow. So this does kind of contradict what I say of using the Memento because this will run a little bit. However, we're going to make it so it kind of runs more towards the grassy end. Hopefully, we'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and ink this image up, and I'm going to stamp it kind of like so, and then a little bit more straight on this part. Now I know that doesn't meet in the middle, but that's okay. So I did that with Mossy Meadow, so it's a pretty dark green ink. So I'm going to give this just a moment to dry, and then what we're going to do is we're going to start with the lighter of our green colors. So I'm going to start with Granny Apple Green, and I'm going to kind of blend a little bit of this. Like I said, this may bleed a little bit, and that's okay. So I'm just going kind of close to the water's edge. Same thing, I'm going to go all the way across. Again, this is the light Granny Apple Green. And then I'm going to come in with the dark And again, just hit the edge a little bit of where the shore would be. doesn't have to be the whole way that you do it exactly the same. So don't feel like it needs to be a perfect line. A little bit out here. Okay, and then I'm going to come back in with my light once more. Kind of spread out those green, darker green spots. The nice part about the Stampin' Blends is kind of regardless of how you color with them, and especially specifically once you practice, it really does eliminate a lot of the lines in the images, which is kind of nice because it gives a really smooth colored finish. All right, so that's going to be all for that for now. Now I'm going to start with the light crumb cake, and I'm going to meet this down here at the bottom. Okay, let me move this up a little bit. I'm going to kind of start here, and I'm kind of trying to keep my distance just a little bit. So this is kind of like maybe there's a little grass there, and then we have a little bit of dirt back here a little bit. So I'm starting with the light because we don't really want to create too much of a muddy look. We kind of want it to be a little bit soft. I'm going to bring this in just a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit more of a broad stroke now, a bigger stroke. Not really necessarily in any specific direction. And if you want to, you could certainly make this so it was a little bit more of a sandy kind of base up here towards this side. Because our boat is going to be on this panel, and then the dock will be on this other panel. So same thing again, I'm kind of just bringing this in. All right, so there's the light. Now I'm going to bring in a little bit of the dark. Now the dark of the crumb cake definitely does have a much darker hue, so kind of do this one, I'll say a little bit more sparingly. And then I'm going to actually go back and blend again over this one. And remember, we are going to have the dock that's going to kind of cover this up. So if you have a little bit that sticks out, you can kind of always adjust where you put your dock. Let's see. Bring a little bit more over here. And I'm going to do one other thing on this side too. So for this one, what I'm actually going to do now is I'm going to switch to the bullet tip end. And I'm going to kind of go like along the edge here just a teeny bit. Not a whole lot. And then I'm going to soften this out again. And I want to just keep going over the edges. Same thing with this. I kind of want to just fill in. I don't want it to be necessarily no white showing, but kind of covering it up somewhat. And then I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to bring in just a teeny bit, and this is actually one I hadn't thought to use. I'm going to bring in a little bit of ivory, kind of give a little bit more of a pinkish reddish look to some of the sand. So that looks pretty good there. So that's, I think, fairly good right there. So I'm going to go ahead and work a little bit now on the water. So I'm going to start again with the lightest color. So you could kind of go, depending which one you want to do, either light balmy blue or light seaside spray. I'm going to do seaside spray first this time. Normally I would do the other. So I'm going to do seaside spray kind of on the edge here, trying to avoid the big clumps only because I don't want to smear, since we use that regular dye ink. Kind of into that and go around. So kind of go just a little bit, like more of a kind of water flow technique. Same now with the seaside spray. Kind of just bring that. It'll give a little bit of a dark, kind of couple dark spots to the do a little bit of, this should be dark balmy blue right at the edge here, kind of right where the shore and the sea meet. Now if you did this also, if you were going to make another card and you went back and did this on the shimmer paper, it'll give you a nice, I'm back again to light balmy blue. It'll give you a really nice light shimmery look to your water. So like it'll give it kind of a sparkly texture to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up a little bit more. Okay, and I'm going to do a little bit of Seaside spray. And then what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to grab, so this is one tool that I very rarely use. This is the color lifter. And what I want to do is I want to kind of go over this in a really big circly pattern. And when you do this, you kind of want to have something to clean your tip off in case it picks up any of the pigment. But I want to kind of try to soften the edge. Just a little bit. And it does take a little bit for it to kind of dissipate. Okay. So then I'm going to do one more thing. So this is a total sidebar from where we started. Now I'm going to grab a sponge. So just a Stampin' sponge. And I'm going to grab my Seaside spray. Let me move this over. And I'm going to ink this up a little bit. I'm going to start off of the paper and just lightly fill in the top because I just want to fill in the water, but I want it to kind of almost look like it's disappearing. So it's very, very light. So there, that's good. I don't want to do too much more. And then I'm going to bring in just a little bit more of the light balmy blue, just a little, just kind of here and there. And then if you felt like you wanted to, you can kind of blend it just a little with the color lifter, but okay. So I'm going to do one more thing. With the bullet tip of my dark granny apple green, I'm going to go over these little plants here at the edge. The one thing that's nice about when you do your blends, you don't have to worry about if you get ink on your hands because it doesn't smudge like if you had actual ink. So that's one other bonus to it. Right now I also have dark soft suede. I'm just going to do the cattail top. Okay, so there's that. So I am pretty happy with how that looks. So I'm just going to pull this off and I'm going to layer this together. So we have the two pieces. Move these out of the way. So I'm going to layer these two onto my two panels. These are just a 1/4 inch bigger. So I'm going to layer this. One. And these are Seaside spray as well. 2. Okay, so we have those two pieces. Okay, so we still have to finish coloring our other little parts. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the boat. So the boat I'm going to make a little bit darker. So I do have my soft suede, light and dark. So I'm going to start, almost always start with the light. So I'm going to start with the light soft suede for the most part. And again, you can, I know this when these dies cut this out, sometimes they don't cut right to the edge. So you can kind of leave that little border there if you want. Kind of just depends on what you want your image to look like, or if not, you could always go back with the edge of your marker and trace it. So dark soft suede, I'm going to just bring into the dark shaded spots. And I know this does look significantly darker, but it will lighten up. I'm going to change over to the bullet tip just to trace the edge here. Okay, and then back to the light just to blend this out. Okay, so at this point, you can leave it, oops, so it has this white edge around it, but if you don't necessarily like that, you could color in, just kind of trace around the edge with your marker. So I think either way would probably be fine, but if I'd had it, I think I would have left it with the white edge because I kind of like that a little bit better. All right, so I'm going to do my oars. Now for the oars, I'm going to start off with a little bit lighter, but I'm going to go dark. So I'm going to go with the dark crumb cake. And then we're going to bring in just a little bit. And I should have switched to the bullet tip for this thin part. Okay, bring this in. Okay, and then I'm going to go with my dark soft suede. Just bring in a little couple shaded spots. Okay, and then go back in again with my light or dark crumb cake, I should say. Okay, so the only thing we really have left to do now is just the dock. So we're to do the same thing. I'm going to start, because this dock is going to be old, so I'm going to start with the light crumb cake first. So I'm just kind of filling in some of the, and I'm going to try to leave an edge on this. Some of the pieces. Just being very generic with the coloring to start on this. Okay, and then we have our dark crumb cake. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in the light soft suede, but I'm going to do the bullet tip. So the light soft suede for now. Just a little bit on the edge there. And then once again, I'm going to go back with my light crumb cake and kind of shade, bring these out a little bit. I think it gives it a nice amount of shading. Okay, so for the bird, in order to keep the bird white, if that's what you want, I'm going to go just a little bit with the balmy blue to kind of give him that white appearance. So it's just a really, you could also do this with a light gray. It's just a really, really light little bit just to kind of make him look whiter. And I'm going to go one more time with my dark soft suede on the sides of these. Just for a little bit more visual interest in my rope. We'll do that dark. There you go. So really not too bad for that. So now all we have to do is assemble the rest of the card. So you could totally stamp something on the inside here. I'm going to skip that because I don't really know at this point what I'm going to use this card for. I think just a general person I know who loves the water and do a birthday card. Quite honestly, I think I might change that to that. So what I'm going to do is we're going to layer the two panels. So remember, these two went together. So I'm going to layer these on each side. So it has a nice 1/4 inch border. And this is on a base of Pretty Peacock. So I make sure I get this square when I open it. Looks pretty good. So there's that. Let me just... Nice. Okay. So then this piece is going to go in here. And again, you could stamp your happy birthday. You could stamp lots of different sentiments. This could be a card, this could be a wonderful thinking of you, a wonderful sympathy cards, lots of different things you could do. So for this, you can again do a couple different things. If you wanted to, you could pop this up on dimensionals, but I'm going to just put it just flat on my card. I think I like it just like that. So I'm going to just get some adhesive on here. But you should have plenty of dimensionals if you want to pop this up on dimensionals. Okay, and then just kind of decide where you want it. Because even if it does overlap a little bit, which is okay, it's not going to impede the opening or closing of the card, right? Okay, and then what we'll do is we're going to put this here, and we'll put the oars under it. So I'm actually going to put these guys together first. I'm going to put a little bit of, which one do I like better? I think that's nice, just like that. I'm going to put a little bit of glue here and glue these together, kind of like that. Okay, and then we'll just put, put our glue on top of the boat, and then we'll put the boat down. So I'm going to put a little glue here and here. And then this, again, you could do the same thing. If you wanted to put this on with dimensionals, you could. Move this over just a little bit. And we'll put this on. Just like so. You could also stamp a really nice greeting across the top here if you wanted to. So, I hope you like this card. Here for You would be a nice one too. Actually, as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to add that. That way you can see what it looks like. Instead of birthday card, we're going to go with just a general thinking of you card. So I'm going to stamp this in black just so it shows up a little bit nicer. And I'm also going to open this before I stamp it so it's a little flatter. Beautiful. Sometimes when I do things after the fact, they have the tendency to not turn out exactly how I wanted. So again, I didn't put my inside in there just because I want to make sure that I have a chance to flip it over if I goof it up, which is why a lot of times I won't do that till then. But beautiful, beautiful card. Really quite simple. I know we did do a little bit of coloring there, but I think it turned out really, really nice. And I think if I would have done this ahead of time, I wouldn't have colored the outline of this. I would have left it with the white outline. I think it would have looked a little bit nicer because it would have been more cohesive with all three. So if you decide that you want to color the outside of yours, do the same for all three of them. Or if you're going to leave it white, leave it white. But I think it would look just as nice white. I actually like the white border a little bit better. So I hope you guys enjoyed this card. As always, if you have any questions about it, you can leave me a comment here, or you can send me a message at rachthestamper@gmail.com. You can make this card over again because we do have all the measurements. So you could do this in different types of cards. I'm sure you have plenty of stamp sets that you'd be able to use and make this into an all new version of the same card. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.